Yeah, this Esper list of Cody's is actually a little non-traditional. Most people have lots of Elspeth Sons champions. He's got just the one. With he does have an Aetherling, but he's got a lot more of the Ashiok element that we saw right at the beginning of Theros, but kind of fell out of favor. He's also got a very exotic mix. He's got enough one-ofs. He's got a deck list only Gabriel Nassif could love, with 1 Far Away, 1 Divination, 1 Last Breath, 1 Devour Flesh, 1 Syncopate, 1 Elixir of Immortality, 1 Cyclonic Rift, 1 Essence Scatter. I mean, he's got quite a mix. You will not know what all he has in store.
A lot of fun-ups there. Both players lead off the action with Dueling Temples. Ken gets on the board first with the Steam Vents and a Sylvan Caryatid. And Cody with another Temple, so the shields are down for Ken to potentially resolve something big this turn. A lot of Planeswalkers in his list.
Yeah, I mean, which one do you think we're going to see first? Xenagos?
Well, it looks like it's Kiora.
Kiora.
Only one copy
Nice.
in the list.
This is a nice one, too. If you're going to have a Planeswalker, I mean, I'm kind of surprised there aren't even more. Like, I love Kiora in this kind of a deck.
Yep. So Ken goes ahead and minuses Kiora to explore, draws a card and puts a Temple into play. So a great third turn for Ken.
To explore or not to explorers? That is the question. Next turn, are we looking at Kiora ticking up, most likely?
I think so. If you want to keep your Planeswalkers in play as much as possible. So Cody just plays a land and says go.
I mean, Ken's got a real big advantage here now, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Cody is threatening Dissolve, but if Ken sticks yet another Planeswalker, Cody's going to start becoming further and further behind the gun here.
Yeah, the trick is to generate these sources of card advantage while also applying enough pressure that you don't eventually get buried by Sphinx's Revelation. So
he does not play into the Dissolve whatsoever, which is actually a little bit costly here because Cody actually had Far Away.
Ken starts off the turn here by plussing Kiora, contemplating what he wants to do here. Pretty loaded hand. Looks like there's Domri and Stormbreath Dragon amongst other cards. Kiora is a really spicy one that I don't think has gotten its due in Standard just yet.
Mm-hmm.
Taps for Ral Zarek, assuming it's going to get counter, puts it straight in the graveyard. And it will not. It will be responded with a Diabolic Edict from Far Away.
Wow, he just domes him.
Whoa.
Not even ticking up. Wow, that's just sending him a message.
Yeah.
Hello, Ral Zarek's here. Seems like you'd want to tick up just in case you need to shoot a Jace and want Ral Zarek to live, but...
Yeah.
Either way, you know, like make it clear what it's hitting for.
Yeah, this is the type of game we're playing.
Yeah.
So Cody with just a tapped Hallowbound and passes the turn back. Ken in a commanding position right now, 2 Planeswalkers in play.
You know, this is why the deck's a Rug Planeswalker deck. These Planeswalkers give it a very powerful dimension that helps make sure that the control decks just don't have enough meaningful ways to interact with you.
And talk about a deck that's maximizing Sylvan Caryatid. I mean, this list is a who's who of things to ramp into. Palakranos, Kiora, Ral Zarek, Xenagos, Chandra, they're all here.
Oh yeah, and the Sylvan Caryatid's ability to block to protect the Planeswalker is super valuable.
So Stormbreath Dragon resolves. It's going to attack. Cody with no response, takes 4. After combat, looks like Ral Zarek's going to plus. And passes the turn back to Cody. Cody with a Supreme Verdict to answer the Stormbreath Dragon.
Yeah, but he's just getting buried by Kiora. And Ral Zarek, you know, even though Ral Zarek took a little detour down, I think if Ral Zarek just keeps ticking up, it's going to be a real threat.
You know, it's a synergistic combo, is time walking a bunch of times with a Kiora emblem in play. That's a really good synergy.
Oh, yeah. It's usually enough to win in some games.
So Kiora going plus again. Here comes Stormbreath Dragon.
This is just a brutalizing.
Yep. Again, it's the right mixture. Just bolts in again.
Taste it.
Letting him know who's boss. Stormbreath comes across. Ken hitting from all angles.
Definitely. One of the nice things, if you just leave the Ral Zarek open is that then a Stormbreath Dragon kills Elspeth if you need to. But I guess at this point, Cody's life total is low enough that who cares?
So 6th land here from Cody.
What is the plan? If he drops the Elspeth and kills the dragon, he's actually not in the worst shape, right? Like if he starts ripping detention spheres.
Mm-hmm. It's a plan. I mean, this is what his hand allows him to do. As you see Elspeth come down in minus to kill that Stormbreath Dragon.
So that's why I think with the Ralzarek, maybe, I mean, now it has become, popular in recent months to play your blue decks with just sending lightning bolts at people's faces. But this is another spot where I feel like if you just had the lightning bolt still in your hand instead of just getting it out of your hand, that you could use it for something else besides doming somebody.
So here is Domri. Domri's going to plus.
Makes you wonder, how many creatures has he even got in this bad boy? Because it sure looks like he's got a lot of planeswalkers.
24. 24 creatures.
Yeah, that's respectable.
Yep.
Besides, whenever there's a planeswalker on top of the deck, it's like at least you have a planeswalker coming.
Yep. Hard to miss in the traditional sense.
Ladies and gentlemen, just to let you know, we are still taking sign-ups for the 3.
So there's a plus from Ralzarek. Kiora still at the ready here. Kiora getting minused. Moving away from the emblem.
Yeah, these planeswalkers are just going all over the place.
So Elspeth is going to plus here.
This is an ambitious race to try to do for Elspeth. I mean, she can put in some serious work, but she has her work cut out for her with Kiora, Domri, and Ralzarek on the triple team.
All right, so there's an upkeep. Sphinx's Revelation for 4. Cody starting to claw back a little bit. Draws an Ashiok.
There's 2 more planeswalkers. This is just a whole lot of planeswalkers here.
Temple of Mystery for Ken, quickly moves it to the bottom. Pulses Domri again and misses.
Does he have a Stormbreath Dragon in his hand?
He has a Mizzy Mortars and another Domri.
I see.
Not a lot to work with.
So do you cash in your Ralzarek here to get Elspeth off the table?
Seems like a reasonable course of action. You certainly can't pull Cody out at this point, right? He's pulled himself too high.
Yep. He does.
Cashes in to take care. What are your thoughts on moving away from the Kiora emblem last turn?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like I'd be ticking up all of his planeswalkers, but...
So an overloaded Mizzy
like any one of them ultimating is going to be game, and Cody hasn't shown an ability to get rid of 1, let alone to come up with answers for 3. It's not like people are playing a whole bunch of merciless evictions.
So Ken again minuses the Kiora. Ashiok hits play for Cody.
And this is where I feel like if you had the Ralzarek at, I mean, I guess Ralzarek would be at 6. I mean, he would have ultimated last turn, but... All right, so we've got Ashiok.
Shows a Stormbreath Dragon and a Scavenging Ooze amongst 3 cards.
And the tables are turning now. What was once 3-0 Planeswalkers is now 2-2.
This is what I was alluding to a little bit earlier. You still got to keep the pressure on the Esper deck, even if you're generating a lot of cards.
Yeah, and that's...
the Esper deck can generate a lot of cards, too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and that's why I think you got to be, I think you're right. I think threatening those ultimates is one of the best things you can do, because either Kiora or Domri's emblems are going to be real tough for the Esper deck to deal with. And obviously, Ralzarek can take enough turns that you can just academically win.
So there's a Jason, a minus. He's up in Essence Scatter. Leaves it on top. And
I think Cody's got this one squarely under control. I mean, a lot can still go wrong, but in general, things are pretty good right now.
He's definitely reversed fortunes, that's for sure. All right, here's a Corsair crew fix for Ken. Now you can see the synergy between Domri and Corsair. Ken working with a little more information, pluses the Domri, gets the Palachronos, reveals the Scavenging Ooze. Ken with another Planeswalker in hand, has the Chandra as well. So many Planeswalkers.
Now, I think Chandra's got to shoot and knock Ashiok down to 4. Because you don't want that Stormbreath Dragon to start killing Planeswalkers, do you?
Yeah, no,
there you go.
And Ken does exactly that. And passes the turn back after plussing Kiora. Chandra moving up to the 5 there on that plus. Cody draws a Detention Sphere, potentially a big draw for him, start making some traction against these Planeswalkers. But you can feel that the game's definitely shifted.
Yeah, I mean, Ken is far from out of gas. He's got 3 Planeswalkers going, some serious pressure on Cody in the form of Domri being nearing ultimate, and he still has more gas. You know, he's got Corsair Crufix too. However, Cody with lots of options.
Starts off the turn by plussing Jace. Ashiok at the ready too. Why do you think this card diminished in popularity?
It just doesn't have a big enough impact on the board. I mean, Hero's Downfall is just real strong against it. An Aetherwing. That's kind of a dangerous pull.
And Ashiok at the 6th loyalty, threatening to potentially put Aetherling into play next turn. There is 1 copy of Aetherling in Ken's list, so that does it for him being able to cast an Aetherling of his own this game.
He decides to go after the Chandra. Not afraid of Domri's ultimate.
Do you think that he's just that interested in putting Aetherling into play next turn through Ashiok?
I think it's possible he just wants to play the Stormbreath Dragon and have Ashiok live. And then just rely on the Dragon to knock Domri's life total down low enough.
And there's a last breath on the Corsair.
Big turn for Cody.
And passes the turn with Essence Scatter still at the ready, so an enormous turn. Ken needs some help here. We know that top card of his deck is Elvish Mystic. Draws that. Plus his Domri. No help there.
You were talking about this before the match, the Domri hitting a little bit less often in this build versus, you know, like a traditional black, you know, like a Jund or red-green monsters deck. We are definitely seeing that here.
Yep. Now, Domri provides plenty of utility besides just finding creatures in this deck, but...
And there's the Essence Scatter.
And now Cody takes a big untap here. His hand is a little bit soft. It's just lands and Supreme Verdicts, but those Planeswalkers are giving him a lot to work with.
Now, does he cash his chips in for the Stormbreath Dragon to take Domri down a notch? Does he cash in everything for Aetherwing? Or does he just get greedy and hang out?
Well, he's going to start the turn by Jacing, and that makes a lot of sense. Find a Detention Sphere. This makes it so much easier.
Yeah, but Devour Flesh and Cyclonic Rift are no slouches either. He does take the Detention Sphere, it looks like, though. You got to admit, if you're going to make a pile that makes it interesting.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's a really juicy Jace reveal. I think that the thing ultimately is just you're going to get to play Aetherling on an unchecked board, and it's hard to turn that down if you're feeling so inclined. And with no Domri Emblem, it's hard to imagine Ken being able to overpower this. There's still a temptation to get Storm Breath this turn.
Interesting, because of the way he tapped, he's not going to be able to. Okay, he's not going to be able to protect Downbreak twice, but there should be no issue here.
Yeah, he gets the Storm Breath.
I mean, not Aetherling.
He's going to Storm Breath the Kiora there, and that's enough for Ken to concede. So they're going to be moving on to game 2. Lesson to be learned there.
Wow.
You can't mess around.
And you can tell. I mean, Ken knows that Ralzarek action was a little hasty.
Yeah.
You know, because it all kind of fell apart after that. Having to throw away Ralzarek to kill Elspeth, and not before she was able to make some tokens, which cost him another turn of having to mortars them away. And if he just had Ralzarek in play ticking up, he could be threatening him with another Planeswalker that could go ultimate, and ultimate all of his other Planeswalkers. Plus, he could have answers to both Jace and Ashiok.
Yeah, so potential misstep there from Ken.
But it's tough. It's like there's so many different lines of play, you know?
Yeah, that's what having a board full of Planeswalkers does. I mean, there's so many interlocking pieces. But I think at the stage of the game where Cody's showing that he can't really kill the Planeswalkers, I think you just want to be pushing all of them towards ultimate.
Yeah, put the pressure on him where each one is threatening to somewhat win the game. So, now, what do you think about the sideboarding?
So Ken has a Simic Charm, a Bow of Nylea, a Pithy Needle, a Roar Throw the Unbound, 2 Negates, 2 Syncopates, a Byzzium Mortars, and Unravel the Aether, 2 copies of Turnburn, and 3 Mistcutter Hydras.
That's a lot.
The Mistcutter Hydras, the counter spells, the Roar Throw, and the Pithy Needle are all going to be coming in.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Just having that many more tempo plays and threats to hit from more angles. I mean, Mistcutter Hydra is a real nice addition.
Yeah, Ken has some inefficient creatures in this matchup, like Arbor Colossus and Polychronos are just very unlikely to really matter. You need to be hitting decks with Esper with things like haste, things that can't be countered, things that have protection from relevant colors. So as powerful in the abstract as a card like Polychronos is, I think it's pretty poorly suited for this kind of matchup. So Ken has a lot of easy upgrades to make here as well.
Yeah, plus obviously cards like Byzzium Mortars, he just doesn't want at all.
Yeah.
On the other side, Cody has access to Ultimate Price, 2 Last Breath, a Revoke Existence, a Doomblade, a Negate, 3 Fiendslayer Paladin, 2 Gainsay, and 4 Night Veil Spectre. So like right off the bat, I mean, Negate is obviously fantastic against this many Planeswalkers. Doomblade and Ultimate Price. He's already seen Stormbreath Dragon and Polychronos and Courser of Prefix. That's got to be enough to bring the Doomblade Ultimate Price package in.
He can also reasonably anticipate cards like Roar Thar and Mistcover Hydra.
Definitely. And then what about Gainsay? I mean, Gainsay, obviously, not a card you ever normally plan on bringing against red-green monsters, but he's already shown you Kiora, Ralzarek, and Aetherling. Is it possible you want to Gainsay? I mean, you don't know his exact list. You don't know how much he has access to. And very easily, he could be bringing in Negates of his own.
Yeah, based on what you saw, Negate's pretty tempting. Now, there are only 6 main deck blue cards. There is a Kiora, the 2 copies of Ralzarek, an Aetherling, and 2 copies of Cyclonic Rift. So there really aren't that many Gainsay targets in the deck. That said, Cody saw quite a few of them, and they're all high impact cards as well.
Definitely. What about Night Veil Spectre? Now, obviously, Night Veil Spectre doesn't just automatically cast everything out of Ken's deck. However, this is the kind of battle where it could drag out for a number of turns, and Night Veil Spectre could produce a lot of advantage. But perhaps more importantly, Ken's not going to have a lot of blockers or removal spells for the Spectre, and the Spectre could actually threaten to put some damage on the Planeswalkers.
The problem that I have with Night Veil in this matchup, I think, is it matches up too poorly against Ken's Planeswalkers. Kiora just stops it. Yep. Ralzarek just kills it. Domri plus any reasonable creature just kills it.
Makes sense.
So I definitely think some of what you're saying is true. The matchup has the potential to go long. You can definitely find interlocking colors and start casting reasonable stuff. But Ken's demonstrated too many good answers to Night Veil Spectre, I think, to go down that road.
Agree.
I mean, he was just plussing Kiora that game with no targets, for example.
Right.
And Ralzarek was just lava spiking. So I wouldn't want to be trading actual cards for those cards if you could avoid it.
Yeah, I also think, I mean, it's possible Ken just switches into the plus plan, because, I mean, obviously the way that game played out, he knows that if he had just been on the plus for days plan, he would have, one way or another, he'd have something going for him, whether it's a bunch of Krakens that he's releasing or taking a bunch of turns, or just having an emblem that makes every creature in his deck a lethal threat.
Although I have seen Esper beat a Kiora emblem a surprising number of times.
Oh yeah, I mean you're a dog, of course, but you got things you can do. You just keep dealing with it each turn and then race them with Aetherling.
Elspeth is also not shabby.
Yeah, definitely. She can wipe out the whole board of them.
Or just keep cranking out 1/1s, depending on what stage of the game you're in. So.
Oh, yeah, and the Supreme Verdict element, the fact that obviously, if you just have Elspeth going, you're just under control. But if you have Supreme Verdict going, you can actually, block with an Aetherling, blink it out, or not even blink it out, but just pump its toughness, anything you want.
So Ken mulligans and keeps his 6, starts off with a Temple of Mystery.
It was definitely an impressive comeback by Cody because he was looking real under pressure from that many active Planeswalkers. What's he looking for this game? I mean, he's got, obviously, Detention Sphere is a pretty key card. We saw Cyclonic Rift out of Cody's deck. A non-traditional choice that's, well suited to the Planeswalker matchup.
Yeah, Adrian Sullivan plays 1 copy in his blue-white list. He's a big fan of it. He feels it can fulfill a lot of the same role of Fated Retribution, which is just give me some breathing space, while also being flexible enough to use early on in the game.
Makes sense.
So Cody with a second turn, untapped Hierophant, and just sends the turn back.
Representing Syncopate or Negate.
But in reality, it appears to be a copy.
It's a semi-bluff.
It's a Cyclonic Rift. You see Cody here play his land untapped to play around a Syncopate. And that Cyclonic Rift can't touch the Sylvan Caryatid. Cody plays another land untapped. It's time a Watery Grave.
What's nice about this way is that he's still representing Negate and Syncopate, or even just Syncopate in particular, but he actually has Dissolve and didn't have the Syncopate.
And here is a Mistcutter Hydra, which is Cody really getting hammered for playing these Ravnica dual lands untapped. Not to say these were mistakes, but Caryatid into Mistcutter Hydra is just so good against the sequence that Cody was trying to set up here.
Yeah. Now he does have Supreme Verdict, so next turn there's going to be a little bit of reprieve. But he's going to be at, and I like this. He's got 2 Ashioks anyway. He just wants to play Ashiok as a sort of stream of life / proactive thing so that next turn the Supreme Verdict leaves him with something.
So you see the Ashiok here, shows Stormbreath Dragon.
Because now if Ken does not attack Ashiok, Cody will have a Stormbreath Dragon in play next turn if he wants it.
Yeah, this is a critical attack here for Ken. He plays another Stormbreath Dragon, this time, Mistcutter Hydra rather, this time is for 5. Goes all at Cody, knocks him down to 3.
Well, if he has Supreme Verdict will clear the board and leave Cody with a Stormbreath Dragon on defense if he wants it. But it looks like he might actually just have Sphinx's Revelation and not Supreme Verdict.
You can see the smile there. What are your thoughts last turn on maybe splitting up those attacks?
Well, scoreboard, that's my first thought. But no, of course, I know. Just because, if you knock Cody to 8, he's still dead on board anyway. And this way, there's not an Ashiok in the way. Yep. So I personally would send 5 at Ashiok, but...
Yeah, but Cody, without the ability to cast a Supreme Verdict there, and the Stormbreath Dragon doesn't represent enough defense, and we'll be going to a 3rd game.
Dude, Mistcutter Hydra, definitely fantastic.
Yep. And
looks like Cody might be sideboarding a little differently. Do you think it's possible he did not bring in one of his black removal spells?
I would be surprised, but you had to imagine after that game that it looks like he's cutting the Cyclonic Rift.
I believe it.
Which is reasonable. I can see wanting that effect much more on the draw than when you're on the play.
Sure.
On the play, he can get out in front with his counter spells and such and removal spells.
Absolutely.
On the draw, he's much more vulnerable to getting curved out.
Yeah, definitely. He needs to stay. He needs to stay reasonably close. It's kind of a given that he's going to start out behind against a deck full of acceleration and tons of Planeswalkers. But he's got to just try to keep it close enough so that when he starts using Sphinx's Revelation, he can actually get ahead. All right, Sphinx's Revelation decks. What are they looking to gain out of Journey into Nyx? Deicide we already talked about. Deicide the 1 and a white, exile an enchantment, and if it's a god, take every copy out of their deck and their hand and their graveyard. Which super exciting. Because like one of the classic things that always happens is you got your one main deck Revoke Existence, you hit the guy's Thassa, and he just plays another Thassa that he's been sitting on. Deicide solves the, it is done.
Yeah, I can see one copy in the main definitely replacing the Revoke, possibly a second copy in the sideboard.
See, I actually don't even mind 2 in the main deck, depending on which way the format goes, just because there's so many enchantments in the new set I think people are going to play.
And the mono black matchup too, being able to hit Erebos or Underworld connections.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Revoke's already at its best in that matchup. And,
oh yeah.
Deicide is a much more effective copy. Being instant speed is really valuable.
Yeah, and I just think that the fact that so many people are going to incidentally be playing with enchantments, like for instance, we really do need to get his name, but the red bestow creature, the Mad Dog bestow creature, that guy being an enchantment means that red is just that much more likely to actually have some dude for you to hit.
Yeah, the presence of Deicide in the set is definitely making me hesitant about adding that card to my mono red aggro list. You have to see how the meta game shapes up, of course, but
yeah.
the opportunity cost of adding your first copy of an enchantment to your deck is going to be huge, I feel like, in the new format.
Yep. People are going to be playing, and Deicide's not the only one. I mean, people are going to be playing with answers. It looks like Cody taking a real quick mulligan here. Yeah, other possibilities for control, depending on what you're in the market for. I don't think it's good enough, but there is the new Extinguish All Hope, which is another Wrath. I think the problem with it is actually this many new enchantment creatures means that it's not a reliable sweeper.
Yeah.
It's 4 black, kill all non-enchantment creatures. Extinguish All Hope doesn't hit Herald of Torment or Boon Satyr or Courser of Prefix. I mean, there's just so many miscellaneous things it's going to end up missing that I don't think it's going to be worth it for a deck that could be, using Fated Retribution.
Yeah, you could try to, in theory, play it alongside your own enchantment creatures and get the one-sided Wrath of God going.
I think that's actually the best use for the card. I think that's where the card's going to shine is somebody's going to put it in some kind of a mid-rangey, like maybe a black-green deck with like Boon Satyr, Courser Prefix, Herald of Torment, and Plague Wind people.
And this with Night Howler is a combo because then there's more creatures in the card.
Oh yeah.
That's a synergy.
One card, I don't think that it ends up showing up in actual Esper, but might in small numbers, is Silence the Believers. 4 mana, the fact that it is another hard kill spell that will just kill whatever you want, but it does also answer gods. It's more likely that it's going to be a factor for mono black, or black blue for that matter.
Yep. So Cody with a mulligan, starts off with Temple of Enlightenment, Ken with a first turn Stomping Ground and an Elvish Mystic.
Basically the best opening his deck has. And this extra acceleration is super valuable.
Especially acceleration that can attack.
Yep.
Because Sylvan Caryatid has the problem of just getting swept up in Supreme Verdicts, but Mystic can provide some other utility here. It's attacks for 1.
Some modest beats.
Gotta start somewhere.
Definitely.
Temple of Deceit for Cody.
No lie. And he does decide to scry it to the bottom. Now, it looks like Ken's a little high on mana.
Yeah, a little mana heavy.
What's he got to come up with now? I mean, just whatever Planeswalker he has available to him?
Pretty much. I mean, there is a risk of getting syncopated here, but I think you got to deploy what you can.
And he starts with Kiora. And it pays off. He is committed to the ticking down plan.
Well,
maybe he figures he just doesn't have enough other threats and Detention Sphere would wipe him out too hard.
Yeah, I don't mind minusing Kiora right away as it's a good hedge against Detention Sphere. After that, I like trying to plus it and threaten the ultimate. So, Cody with an Ashiok. Pluses to mill Ken shows 2 lands and a Stormbreath Dragon. And the fact that this Elvish Mystic can attack is pretty valuable here.
Yeah, keep him off that Stormbreath Dragon for an extra turn. Draws yet another land. Now, does he have an Aetherling in his hand?
I believe he does. He does have the 1 Aetherling.
Courser of Prefix is another nice one.
And if he has 2 untapped lands in his hand, he could theoretically play it this turn with blue mana up through Kiora.
Unfortunately, I think his lands are just 2 Temple of Mysteries, though.
Oh, he just plussed the Kiora, sort of just saying, yeah, you're Ashiok, I guess, because Cody doesn't have any relevant targets. But Kiora also prevents all damage that we dealt to it. So that Elvish Mystic is now unable to knock Ashiok down to 4 loyalty, and Ken could be staring at a Stormbreath Dragon next turn. What a bizarre turn of events.
Yep, an unfortunate ordering.
Now we'll see what Cody wants to do. I mean, he can just get a Stormbreath Dragon here, kill Kiora, and let it rip.
Yeah, and with as much gas as he has in his hand, I mean, I kind of think that's the solid play. Keep that Detention Sphere for a rainy day, you know?
We'll see momentarily. Cody with a lot of options now that he can deploy that Stormbreath Dragon.
Yeah, it's particularly rough there considering that Ashiok wasn't going to deal any damage anyway. You know, a lot of people get in that habit just because there's the dream of maybe faking them out and making them forget to use their Planeswalker because they think it can't, but like, definitely gets punished here.
Well, I think Ken for the first 2 games has just been in this habit of reflexively saying, whatever, you don't have a thing in play, so just plus Kiora and target whatever, but Kiora is symmetrical.
Yep.
It also cannot be dealt damage. Cody with a pretty loaded grip here. Detention Sphere far away.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a lot of options, but he does elect to Stormbreath Dragon Kiora into next Tuesday.
So Cody loses Ashiok here. It looks like he's about to fuse far away.
Interesting.
So that returns the Elvish Mystic to hand, gets rid of the Caryatid, and now Cody with a very advanced board. Ken takes a draw here. Plays Courser of Krufix. Finds a forest on top. Plays the forest, gains 1. Ken's still in a position where he may be able to power out Aetherling here.
Definitely, but he's at real risk of just losing the race straight up. I mean, he has to cast the Aetherling, then hit 3 more times with it. If Ken can assemble 1 point of damage, I guess more because of the Courser of Krufix gaining life, but if Cody has a single piece of interaction, then the Aetherling won't be able to finish him off in time.
So Cody plays it, Jason pluses it. Breeding Pool on top for Ken.
And he's kind of stuck on he has to play the land off the top because he can't afford to draw that next turn.
Still gives him the opportunity to play Aetherling with a mana up. He has 7 in play even if he plays Breeding Pool tapped.
Yep.
See how he wants to handle this momentarily, but I do feel that he just needs to probably just play this Breeding Pool here.
Yep.
He has a Scryland in hand, but that's no different than just playing the Breeding Pool.
Except then you just won't have the Temple in your hand afterwards.
Maybe he wants to play his Forest untapped to have more insurance for Aetherling and not take damage off the Breeding Pool.
Wow, doesn't this just cost you a draw phase, though?
Yeah, he's paying a huge cost for this. But he also has to be worried about, he's also concerned about Syncopate potentially, too. So 1 mana up may not get it done if Cody had Syncopate plus a removal spell. So he's playing Aetherling with 2 mana up.
He sure is. And the Courser goes to Jace's face. Huh.
I mean, Ken might know that his only route is Aetherling or bust here. That might be the logic.
Yeah, but what is attack like going to like what attack? How much do you accomplish by attacking Jace? I guess if you attack it a couple times, he can't factor fiction twice. This is tough. The ultimate price is essentially a fog, meaning that Ken will lose the race and has to draw a Mizzy Mortars.
I think it's going to be better than fog here because Ken only has 1 blue mana up.
Yes, because he played that forest instead of just playing the breeding pool untapped.
So yeah, with a detention, he was able there to detention sphere in response to Ken trying to phase out the Aetherling. Ultimate price finishes it off, and now the Aetherling has been dealt with forever. There's only 1 copy in the list.
Yep, Ken needs a Mizzy Mortars pretty quick. It's a shame, he's got Ralzarek in his hand too. So if he had played the breeding pool, he would draw another Ralzarek this turn, have 8 mana, and be able to Stormbreath Dragon, shoot Stormbreath Dragon twice.
So he's going to scry that to the bottom. Ken with the ability to finish off Jace this turn. Which he does, sends 1 point of damage with Elvish Mystic at Cody. And his hands now just lands into Ralzarek. And all of this is happening just because of that weird interaction with the Kiora and Ashiok. Otherwise,
it's a game of inches.
Yeah, otherwise that Stormbreath Dragon isn't in play, at least not the turn that it came into play. Be careful with that Kiora.
Definitely. So are we seeing Ralzarek tick up? It's tough now because if Stormbreath Dragon attacks Ralzarek, Ralzarek will no longer be able to
yeah, I think Ken just needs to buy himself a little bit of time here.
Trying to find, I mean, he's probably not playing Mizzy Mortars after sideboard, right? I mean, and he doesn't have access to like Dreadbore or anything like that. And his only Kiora is already gone. If Ralzarek has counters, Chandra can combine with Ralzarek to take down a dragon. If he still has, I mean, he could block with another Stormbreath Dragon of his own.
Steam Vents revealed to the courser here. Some low power draws here for Ken, just some lands, and Elvish Mystic now on top, handful of lands.
Yeah, we are getting down to the wire. And the problem is that Cody is not without action of his own. Here we see a Sphinx for 4. Oh, remember this element of the game?
So there's a Rev for 4, finds a Rev, a Dissolve, another Ashiok, just a loaded Revelations.
Definitely. Well played by Cody. I mean, this is not the easiest matchup.
Certainly with the start that Ken had, you know, he had all the tools. But a few minor stumbles, and that's the difference. Ashiok hits play, mills for 3. Finds another Stormbreath Dragon. Rourke Thar on the top. Again, a little late to the party.
He is extremely unbowed. Cody just making sure that Rourke Thar doesn't do 6 if you counter it.
Yep. Stormbreath looks like it knocked Ralzarek down to 2.
So Ken's still at 8.
Breeding pool. Off the top here for Ken, plays it up through the courser. But Cody in firm control now.
He does go after Ashiok. Ken basically, he's got a couple threats, right? But like Cody's got more counter spells than Ken has threats, plus Cody has access to another Sphinx's Revelation.
Ken pluses Browseric there. Cody says that's fine. Here's Rorikthar.
Essence Scatter making short work of Rorikthar. I don't know about you, but I think of Reed Duke every time I think of Rorikthar. Reed Duke is he's an unbowed fella himself.
Oh, yeah.
And he's the type of guy who's put one Rorikthar in a lot of decks.
Yeah. His invitational card.
Oh, yeah. Is Cody looking for anything in particular, or are we more just...
Mistcutter Hydra Insurance. I mean,
that's true.
That's the most
about the worst
card.
thing that could happen, right?
Right. Pluses, Cody pluses again.
Oh, and there's the Mistcutter Hydra.
Which he would have been able to draw off of Domri. Ooh, a Sylvan Primordial.
A
Nice.
spicy little meatball.
It's a card that's seen a kind of an uptick in popularity. I see a lot more copies of that card floating around in lists as a one or a two of.
Sometimes you got to go big.
Yep. Is not very effective against the card Dissolve, unfortunately.
That's not great. Man. Sylvan Primordial. A nice way to kill Elspeth, if it comes to that.
Good against Detention Sphere.
Ashiok.
Lands. Just non-creature permanents in general. It's pretty powerful against. Here is Dissolve.
So, Cody, dispatching the Sylvan Primordial. Not a ton of cards matter to him too much right now, but that one's, that one's still a pain.
So Ken gonna go ahead and scry the Stormbreath Dragon to the bottom, presumably looking for Mistcutter Hydra.
Interesting. Stormbreath Dragon seemed like it was his out. Like, isn't that what you need right now in order to block another dragon?
So here's a Rev for 2. Finds Dissolve and Detention Sphere.
So it is good to put the dragon on the bottom in this spot. It looks like he is all in on Find a Hydra. Or was.
Yep.
I mean, if Ashiok hits him again, he'll have a fresh look. And he's got one more turn, at the very least, probably 2.
Plusing again with Ashiok. Top card gets revealed. It is a Steam Vents for Ken.
Both of these players doing a whole lot of stuff right now, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, even though the game is obviously very heavily favored towards Cody, both players making a lot of plays. Both players giving themselves extra looks, increasing their chances of getting out or increasing their insurance.
And Ken just plays the Steam Vents and says, go. Only card in hand. 2 copies of Breeding Pool. Another small Rev, this time for 3.
And the problem is, Mistcutter Hydra no longer has time to get the job done.
Yeah. Cody had a very comfortable 22 life.
Stormbreath Dragon getting in there for 4, knocking to Ken to 1. Ken's got plenty of land, can play whatever he draws, but at this point is well beyond being able to really do much of anything. At best, he can hope to try to draw something to stabilize the board at this point. He doesn't have enough mana for Palakranos to get him out of this. What could he possibly have? I mean, the Mizzy Mortars that he's unlikely to have. Turn and Burn, he's unlikely to have. Cyclonic Rift, I guess, is a possibility.
But Cody's got multiple counterspells in hand. I mean, that's it.
And they pack it in. Cody Hutchinson wins 2 games to 1 over Ken Crocker's Rug Monsters / Planeswalkers deck.
Pretty unfortunate. Felt like he had all the tools to win. Both games 1 and 3, I think some of the sequencing in game 1 was a little bit rough, and in game 3 that stumble with Cure and Ashiok really buried him.
It's a real nuanced matchup, real complicated, a lot of interactions and a lot of decisions. You got to make a judgment call about which way to go. We have been seeing blue decks dominate.